Morning glory, evening grace, brethren and sisters. Great to have everybody back along with us here with the World Religion School as we continue our World Religions class, World Religions 501, the requirement class here for our Master of Arts in Religion. And I look forward today at getting into our first major world religion of Hinduism, our first major religion here of Hinduism. And we'll look at its introduction and the origins of Hinduism here. I'm going to first cover our Eastern religions in this class before we get into the Western religions. And we'll get here right into things. And Hinduism is a polytheistic religion. It's designed to be a way of life, very similar to Buddhism. The religion has a wide variety of beliefs and rituals, and the name Hinduism was given in the late 19th century to the coalition of texts, philosophies, and practices that are on the Indian subcontinent, where 1.3 billion people practice the Hindu religion there in the country of India, as well as another approximately 60 million people practice Hinduism in other parts of the world. And the term Hindu is derived from the name of the Indus River, or Sindhu, as it's known in the Sanskrit language. And the roots of the religion can date back to around 2500 BC in the Indus Valley. And the Vedas are the sacred text of Hinduism. They are made up of 4 parts of the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Arthur Veda. And the Vedic period, which we'll look at just a little bit more here as we look at our origins of Hinduism. But the Vedic period here was a very important, probably the most important time for the Hindus. It lasted from approximately 1500 BC to 600 AD. And during this time, social hierarchy, ceremonial sacrifices, ritual offerings were developed as well, as we'll look at some of the oldest deities, some of the oldest Hindu gods. The devotional Hindu period lasted from about 200 BC to 500 AD, and the main focus of this period was to adapt to a more appropriate ritual sacrifices, as Buddhists and Jains disapproved of the Vedic animal sacrifices. So the priestly caste of Hindu rearranged animal sacrifices to more vegetal offerings. From the 1st to the 2nd centuries AD, religious rituals were controlled by the priest. The priest, or Brahmins, as they are also known as, are at the top of this fourfold hierarchical division. And then a second are the warriors, which are known as the, if I'm saying this right, the Kshatriyas. Then the traders and farmers were third, also known as the Vaishyas. And then lastly were the menials and servants, who are known as the Shudras. And this social system does still exist. And Hindus believe in the universal laws, of course, of karma, something they are very much known for. And they don't see this necessarily as a system of reward and punishment, but rather as consequences of individual actions, for any individual action that you do on this earth. And then also in karma, the soul is eternal, and when an individual dies, they are reborn as another person, or possibly even an animal. An animal if they don't learn valuable lessons as a human. And then there is moksha in the Hindu belief, and moksha would be a bit of their heaven, we could say, in comparison to Christianity. That's the Hindu belief that a person can be liberated from rebirth. And this is attained by living a life of devotion. 4 things: devotion, pursuing knowledge, performing selfless service, and then practicing meditation. And then in moksha, the individual is united with a supreme being, and they live in an eternal bliss. And the Hindu faith is devotional. It revolves around the worship of deities. Some Hindus also seek support from their spiritual text and maybe even enlightenment from what's known as gurus, the religious teachers in Hinduism. Hindus believe in Brahman. Brahman is the unchanging spiritual force in the universe. In Hindu philosophy, everything such as the earth, sun, moon, animals, people, everything, they are all one in Brahman, and that's how they obtain this moksha, by just being one with Brahman. And some Hindus also conceive Brahman as the supreme God and the creator of the universe. And there are four main denominations of the Hindu religion. These are the Vaishnavas, who are devoted to Vishnu, the Shaivas, who are devotees of Shiva, and the Shaktas, who worship the goddess Shakri. And then lastly, there are the Smartas, who can choose their own deity. And of course, Hindu is being very polytheistic. Some people may even deter away a bit from just particularly subscribing to one of these four denominations. They might choose their own devotion to a particular cult or a deity. And in Hindu worship, that's very important. Temples are very important in Hindu worship as they are filled with images. And Hindus believe that by practicing rituals, it brings the presence of these images to life. And now we're going to look at the origins. Now, the origins of Hinduism. And the earliest origins of Hinduism are not known. There are no recorded documents that necessarily point to its exact inception. Hindus profess this is because Hindu is an eternal way of life with unending cycles, like we mentioned there, how they are reborn. And Hindus call this eternal way of life Sanatana Dharma, or just Dharma, the everlasting Dharma. And there have been 6 stages of Dharma: the pre-Vedic, the Vedic that we mentioned, the Puranic, the Upanishadic, the medieval, and now the modern era. And all of these periods, these beliefs and practices from these different periods still coexist today. Symbols of fertility and the Earth Mother have been found from the pre-Vedic days. And these were mostly symbols of sacred trees and snakes, which is why you still see that a lot in the images of the Hindu religion, like trees and snakes. And during the Vedic period, as we kind of mentioned there, there were no icons, but they put a lot of emphasis on the rituals, the sacrifices, and the propitiation of elemental deities. And here, just looking at our origins, we'll mention a couple of things here about the Vedic religion. As I said, that was very important, like with their worship of ritual sacrifices and the developments of their deities. And the priest, or the Brahmins, performed the rituals. They would place offerings in the fire, presenting these to Agni, the god of fire, one of their earliest gods. They would also drink soma. This soma was a fermented juice drink that believed to bring healing, and then there were also sacred chants that were believed to link heaven and earth through all of these offerings here. And then there is the Hindu Trinity, a Hindu Trinity here. This consists of Brahma, who we mentioned. This was the creator of the universe at the beginning of each cycle. Then there is Vishnu, who preserves these cycles, and then Shiva, the goddess, who destroys it. And another important old deity in India is Indra in Hindu here. Indra, the god of storms. He was once the king of all gods, very important there during the Vedic times, but he became less important in the post-Vedic eras. And then, lastly here, another one of their older gods, more popular, is Garuda, and this is the god, the king of the birds. This is a divine eagle-like bird. And even still today, The god Garudu is a national symbol in India, Indonesia, and Thailand. And that concludes our introductions and origins here today. And we'll be looking at some of the gods in our next class. We'll be looking at Shiva, as well as the mother goddess as well. And so we look forward to that as we continue studying here. And so come on back and be with us, and we'll see you next time. Until the debate and the shadows flee away, I am Dr. Coop, and I love you, and I appreciate you.